Okay, after an off day, Brewers are fresh and ready to go, even though, if you're a little stitious, it is Friday the 13th. Welcome to Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen of the day. I'm Dominic Cotroneo, the statistician for Valley Sports Wisconsin, bringing you all the news and nuggets you need to know about your Milwaukee Brewers with your only daily podcast dedicated to the Brew crew. If you are watching on YouTube, you may notice a different backdrop. I am back in Arizona right now as tweeting from Locked On Brewers and from my own account will be a little bit light this weekend because I'm actually back on the call for Pac-12 Network. I'm doing some play-by-play this weekend for Oregon versus Arizona State baseball on Pac-12 Arizona. So I'm really excited to be back on play-by-play side of things. So won't be able to watch much Brewers this weekend. We wanted to take a different approach with this episode because of that fact that I'm not going to be able to watch much. We're going to recap things, of course, on Sunday. But with an off day yesterday and not much really happening here in the early portion of the season, teams in the middle of a long road trip, let's have a different episode, shall we? Let's have some fun. Give me that game show music here real quick. Yeah, that's more like it. We are going to play trivia, but it's not just Brewers trivia. We are going to keep things simple, and maybe this will become a recurring theme here every couple of weeks or so. But what we're going to do in today's episode is we're going to divvy this up into three different categories. The Brewers this season, the NL/MLB leaders of this season, and the Brewers leaders of last season at this point. So what we're doing is basically seeing how much knowledge you know, the fan, how much you have been paying attention, not just to the Brewers, but to all of the National League and Major League Baseball. We're not counting the AL in this. We've got the MLB leaders in this, but I'm not making you guess on the AL side of things. Basically, I just want to break the monotony because we can sit here in a 162-game season and dissect every single pitch that we want to. And, oh my goodness, why is Brandon Woodruff off to a slow start? Oh my goodness, why is Eric Lauer pitching so great? Is Josh Hader the greatest closer of all time? We can do that another time. But coming off an off day, I'm out of town. Let's have some fun with this episode, right? So, cut the music. Let's jump into this. You can keep score on your own at home. I would love to see the response on Twitter. Let me know how you do question-wise, how many you get right, how many you get wrong, what tripped you up, what surprised you about these numbers that I'm about to say to you. But we're going to start things off with just the easier segment of this trivia. The way I'm going to do it is we're just going to go one by one, okay? Generic batting numbers. And the reason we're not going to do pitching specifically for the Brewers is because I think you know who the leader is. Corbin Burnes and Josh Hader. They led pretty much in everything. But we've got some variety here for what things are going on in 2022 offensively, not just for the Brewers, but last season and also for the National League. So let's see how much you have been paying attention. Let's just have some fun with this podcast today, okay? All right, let's start things off with the granddaddy of them all, if you will. I don't know, the easiest stat to understand, batting average. All right, who leads the Brewers in batting average this season? We're just going to pause a couple of seconds. Time's up. Christian Yelich, 259 batting average so far this season. Yelly leads the Brewers in batting average. And I should note, if you're thinking Luis Urias, if you're thinking guys with fewer plate appearances, it's qualified, all right? So you got to be qualified in order to make it into the trivia here in today's episode. So if you got Yelich right, pat yourself on the back. Next question. Who currently leads the team in home runs? Who leads the team in home runs? Time's up. Willy Adames and Hunter Renfroe. If you got either one of those, I'll count it. That works. So let's hope you're 2 for 2 so far. Starting things off pretty easy. They both have 8 home runs to start the season. Not far from the NL lead. Next question. Third, who has the most RBIs on the team? Most RBIs on the Brewers this season. The answer is Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy Tellez has got 27 runs batted in so far this season. That leads me to a next topic. Do you say RBIs, or do you say RBI? AP Style says RBIs. Treat it like, its own noun. This has become a fun debate lately in baseball, but Rowdy leads in RBIs. Now let's get into a couple of rate stats here. On-base percentage. Who do you think leads in on-base percentage this season for the Brewers? 3, 2, 1. The answer is Christian Yelich. Not a surprise there. A 356 on base. Next up, slugging percentage. The other rate stat. We're not going to do OPS in this one. Slugging. Who has the highest slugging on the Brewers? Go ahead and answer to yourself. And it is Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy's got a 528 slugging, one of the only guys on the team over 500 for slugging. Now let's get into the counting stats, just adding up more like RBIs and home runs. Who has the most hits overall on the team? They shouldn't take you long. 3, 2, 1. Christian Yelich. He's got 29 hits this season. Next up, who's got the most doubles on the team? Doubles, 2 baggers. Who has the most doubles on the Brewers so far this season? That's the buzzer. Next, the answer is Rowdy Tellez. He's got 9 this year. Triples. Triples, there haven't been that many. Quick thought, who do you think would lead in triples? You're right, it's Colton Wong. He's got 2 triples this season. The only one with multiple triples on the Brewers this year. Next up, walks. This is a good one. Who do you think leads the Brewers in walks? Take a moment. The answer is Willy Adames, not Christian Yelich. Yelich is actually one back of Adames, so 17 walks this year for Willy Adames. Next up, extra base hits. Remember, Yeli's coming off of a cycle. The answer, though, is Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy's got 16 extra base hits. He's been off to, obviously, a fantastic start this season. 9 doubles, 7 homers for Rowdy. And finally, last of the 2022 stat trivia game, who has the most stolen bases on the Brewers? Right now, who has the most stolen bases on the Brewers? 3, 2, 1. It's Colton Wong. Colton Wong's got 6 stolen bases. And the guy who's in second actually shocked me. Then I remember the series he had against Cincinnati. Jace Peterson's got 5 stolen bases this year, y'all. That came up on me out of nowhere. I wonder if he's going to get to a dozen. That'd be fun to see for Jace Peterson. So, once again, we're just having fun with this episode. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. Just because off day yesterday, we can sit here and mope about back-to-back series losses. I want to have some fun with this episode. So let's just, one more time. Yelich leads in average. Renfroe and Adames are tied for the home run lead for the Brewers. Rowdy leads in RBIs. Rowdy leads in slugging. Rowdy leads in doubles. Rowdy leads in extra base hits. As far as on-base percentage and hits, that goes to Christian Yelich. Colton Wong has the most triples. Willy Adames has the most walks. And Colton Wong also has the most stolen bases. Okay, that's for the 20-12 Milwaukee Brewers of this season. 32 games in last season. This is going to lead us into our next segment. 32 games in last season. What do you think their record was? Think about that while I tell you about our friends at Built Bar. Look, birthday cake is amazing, right? And everyone's trying to find that right batch of birthday cake flavor, and it seems like everything. I think of Cake Pops from Starbucks. I've got these awesome birthday cake puffs from Built, B-U-I-L-T. 16 grams of protein and only 150 calories in these awesome little birthday cake puffs. It's a protein-infused marshmallow. They are delicious. They are still yet covered in 100% real chocolate. You can make every day your birthday with Built's birthday cake puffs, and it's always going to be delicious with Built because they make sure it tastes good first and then figure out how to make it healthy. If it's not going to taste good, they don't even bother moving forward. It's amazing what they do in these kitchens, and they got all the details in there. They got white chocolate. They've even added sprinkles on these birthday cake pops. But if that's not your thing, they've got an amazing lineup of flavors, all to be found at built.com. That's BUILT.com. And we got a promo code for you, LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, built, BUILT.com. And the promo code is LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. So now let's make things a little more difficult before we ease things up with the national landscape. I want to go back in time. I want to go back to 2021. And we're going to have some fun with this. We're going to use these same offensive numbers, all of these offensive stats that we just looked at and found out who's leading the team this year. And exactly 32 games in last year, who was leading these categories. This was a fun exercise for me and a reminder that even as things are a little cold right now for the Brewers, it was a whole lot worse this time last season. So the National League, first and foremost, was jammed up. No one was really running away with it. Even though the Brewers were only 2 games over 500, they were only a game and a half back of the best record in the National League. The Cardinals were actually leading the Central at the time. The Cubs were not far behind them. It was a very jam-packed NL in the first month and a half of the season. This year, it's not quite the same case. Of course, the Mets are currently leading the National League with a 22-11 record. The Dodgers are right there as well. They are losing last I saw here as we're recording late last night. But, hey, they're facing the Phillies. It's the Dodgers. And, in fact, as we're recording, it's the bottom of the 8th. The Dodgers are down by 3, but they have the bases loaded and nobody out against that Phillies' terrible bullpen. So they may end up getting their 21st win of the season tonight. However, that's not the point of this exercise. Let's go back to 2021. Let's answer these same trivia questions. Who is leading the team in a variety of offensive categories? Number 1. Who is leading the team in batting average? I have mentioned this before in previous podcasts. And the answer is Omar Narvaez. He was hitting .368 32 games into the season last year. And, of course, getting his first All-Star selection later in the year. So Narvaez was leading and hitting. Who had the most home runs in 2021 in the first 32 games? For the Brew Crew, who had the most home runs 32 games in? The answer was Travis Shaw. The mayor of Ding Dong City had 5 homers to this point in the season a year ago. Who had the most runs batted in to this point last season? Didn't have to think too hard. It is still Travis Shaw. 22 RBIs. So you compare Shaw leading with 22 last season. Rowdy's got 27 this season. So keep this kind of stuff in mind. And the Brewers have multiple guys with more than 5 homers this year. And they've got the team lead is 8 currently between Adames and Renfroe. Last season, again, who led in on-base percentage at this point of the year? Shouldn't have to think too hard on this one. It's Omar Narvaez. He's leading in average. Makes sense to be leading it on base. He had a .443 on-base clip, which is phenomenal. Granted, he had a few fewer at-bats. He just barely qualified to this point of the year last year. But he was still one of the best hitters on the team. Next, slugging percentage. This was barely Omar again. Slugging percentage went to .529 for the Brewers. Now let's have some fun with the counting stats. Who do you think had the most hits in 2021 in the first 32 contests? Ha! You were wrong. You thought it was Omar Narvaez again. Wrong. It was Avisail Garcia, who the Brewers will get ready to see in tonight's contest. So Avi had 27 hits to this point last season. So you thought it was Omar. I got you. Next up, who had the most doubles to this point? This was a tie. And the answer is Cole Wong and Luis Urias. They both had 5 doubles. Rowdy's currently leading the team with 9 doubles. You see what I'm getting at here with the offense? There has been improvements made to the offense. Next up, triples. Not a big deal. Same total to this point with 2 triples. But the guy who hit the number of triples last season, Jackie Bradley Jr. had 2 triples at this point last season. And finally, let's go to walks. Who had the most walks 32 games in 2021? That goes to Wisho. He has 14 walks. Granted, maybe he'd be up there in the walk leaderboard this year if he had made the team out of opening day without the quad injury. So something to keep in mind for him the rest of the season. Maybe he catches Adames and Yelich at some point this year with all of his patience at the plate. Extra base hits was nothing special. Who do you think led in extra base hits last year? 3-way tie between Travis Shaw, Luis Urias, and Jackie Bradley Jr. They each had 8 extra base hits in the first 32 games. Rowdy Tellez has 16 extra base hits so far this season. Going a whole lot better offensively. And finally, last year at this point, who do you think led in stolen bases for the Brew Crew? It was a much smaller number than this year. The answer is Avi. Avi was 3 for 5 in stolen bases. 3 was the man leading the team at the point last year. They were not really a bases-stealing team early in the season last year, so Avi had to lead in that. Those were a lot harder. And let's turn things over now to the National League landscape. Just looking around right now, a reminder of what's going on. And in the meantime, while I was doing that leaderboard, I'd go back and check the Dodgers. They've scored 2 runs in the bottom, another couple of runs at the bottom of the 8th. It's now a 1-run game against the Phillies. The Phillies have got some baggage going on as far as the back end of their bullpen. But let's take a national landscape here now. Let's go with the NL to wrap up this middle segment of the episode of trivia. Who is leading the National League in hitting right now? Okay, think for a second. It is Manny Machado. Machado's hitting .383, you guys. And the Brewers will be seeing the Padres in a couple of weeks. They go to San Diego for a midweek series, not next Monday, but the following Monday coming up. So they're going to see a really, really good team in Bob Melvin. We wish Bob Melvin all the best, too, as he's recovering from prostate surgery right now. So Machado is leading the National League in batting average. Who is leading the National League in home runs? Currently, that belongs to C.J. Cron still of the Rockies. He's got 9 homers this year, so that means Willie and Renfroe, they're right behind him with 8 homers. So C.J. Cron of the Rockies currently leading in home runs hit. As for RBIs, in the National League this year, it's no surprise, it's the polar bear. Pete Alonso is 1 RBI more than Rowdy Tellez. He's got 28 runs batted in, does Pete Alonso with the Mets. On-base percentage. The National League leader, Manny Machado. Machado's got a .460 on-base percentage. Who's got the best slugging right now for the National League? Also Manny Machado. Machado's got a .625 slugging percentage. What a start it's been for him and the Padres. They are 20-12 this season. The Padres yesterday actually had the day off. They are getting ready to, if I'm not mistaken, they are on the road. Double checking their schedule right now, and that is indeed the case. They're going to Atlanta to take on the Braves this weekend. So Machado all over this leaderboard. Next up, who has the most hits in the National League? You guessed it, Manny Machado. He's got 46 hits to lead the National League. Next up, doubles. Who has the most doubles in the NL? Nope, not Manny Machado. It's Matt Olson with the Braves, who the Brewers just saw. Of course, traded from the Oakland A's over to Atlanta, his hometown team. Ole's got 14 doubles this year. Triples. Who's got the most triples? It's the guy the Brewers are seeing tonight, Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's got 3 triples this season. Extra base hits, and this game is actually in progress right now. In fact, it just became a tied game down in Chavez Ravine. It's 7-7 in the bottom of the 8th, but the guy with the most extra base hits this season is Bryce Harper. And Harper actually has a home run in this game, as well as a double against the Dodgers. So Harper's got 19 extra base hits this season to lead the National League. Who leads in stolen bases finally? Who leads in stolen bases so far this year? It's a couple of Cardinals. Harrison Bader and Tommy Edman both have 7 stolen bases on the season so far for the NL. I hope you're enjoying this. If you're sticking around, we really do appreciate it. Maybe you could have taken all of this knowledge, this trivia knowledge, and you can bring it into some futures with one of our favorite partners in BetOnline.net. They are your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports information. You can check up on, of course, Game 6 tonight. Bucks in 6. Bucks, Celtics, Fiserv Forum. Big stuff going on with basketball playoffs. We'll have a Game 7 coming up with the Suns and the Mavericks. Suns are certainly looking very vulnerable. It's a wild season of the NBA playoffs, and the 76ers were just eliminated yesterday. So if the Bucks do win tonight, they'll be taking on the Heat, and you can learn all about the futures of that at betonline.net. They've got live betting, playoffs, esports, and plenty more. You can go to their website today or use your phone to learn about the trends and get in on the action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Finally, I'm just going to quickly run through, I hope you enjoyed just trying to sit here and guess. I'm just going to quickly run through major league leaders. You don't need to guess. If you want to guess along, let's do it. And there are some gaudy numbers in this. Manny Machado obviously is going to dominate this list. Machado leads not only the National League, but Major League Baseball in that .383 batting average, the 46 hits, and he's near the top in the other rate stats. But a reminder, Aaron Judge now has 11 homers. He had another one yesterday against the White Sox. Aaron Judge is leading baseball in homers. Jose Ramirez, who just signed that great extension with Cleveland, is leading in runs batted in. No surprise, Mike Trout is back. He has a .250 weighted runs created plus, guys. 100 is league average. His on-base percentage is .462. His slugging is .726. He's been doing everything for the Angels, who have been a great, great team, but the Astros have won 10 games in a row right now in the AL West. So that could be a really, really fun race to watch in the other league. But Trout's doing things again. We mentioned the National League leaders that are also leading Major League Baseball. But the man who's leading Major League Baseball in stolen bases is my pick to click. My Rookie of the Year in the American League in our preseason show, Julio Rodriguez. He's got 10 stolen bases this year for the Seattle Mariners, who are off to a cold start, albeit, he's still a rookie and still figuring things out. But Julio has been he's had some bad luck early in his season as far as trying to dominate the strike zone, but yet he has increased his batting average to .254. His on-base is only sitting at .315. He's only got one homer so far. He's got great power. He's a 5-tool legit player, 10 stolen bases. He's played in almost every game for the Mariners, 31 games. So look for him to figure things out. They get J.P. Crawford back. Ty France has been a revelation for the Mariners, but this isn't a Mariners podcast. This is the Brewers podcast. So as we wrap up this episode, let's talk about this weekend. Brewers and Marlins. And we got an ace-off going tonight. What a pitching matchup here on this Friday the 13th down at Lone Depot Ballpark in Miami. It's a 5:40 first pitch back on Bally Sports, Wisconsin. Corbin Burns getting the ball for the Brewers. 1-2 record, a 1.86 ERA. Going up against the April pitcher of the month in the National League, Pablo Lopez. Lopez has been the best pitcher in baseball so far this season. A 4-1 record, a 1 flat ERA. Fastball changeup guy. He gets a ridiculous number of swings and misses on that changeup to both righties and lefties. He's only allowed one homer all season long. The ballpark certainly helps, but hey, he is pitching great. We got an ace-off coming tonight. Again, a 5:40 first pitch Central Time, so you can watch a little bit of that before the Bucks tip off. Then tomorrow at 5:10, 30 minutes earlier, Eric Lauer and the Zoom Ball will get the start against Tyler Rogers of the Marlins. Rogers had a great season last year. He has kind of had a sophomore slump here this year for Miami. He's off to a 1-4 record with a 4.00 ERA. The Brewers will be missing Alcantara in this series, though, as well as Jesus Luzardo in this series, because then Eliezer Hernandez will get the start in Sunday's finale at 12:40 up against Brandon Woodruff. So that's a look ahead at this weekend. Hope you don't step on a crack here on this Friday the 13th, given the Bucks are going for Bucks in 6 today. All right. So did I say Tyler Rogers? I meant to say Trevor Rogers, by the way. I want to make sure I got that clear. Thanks again for listening. Just wanted to have a fun episode today. Obviously, no episode tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday morning with a mailbag recapping the Marlins series. I will still be in Arizona, but getting ready to head back home for the Braves series back at home this week. That's going to be a fun 6-game homestand, a real quick one, as the Brewers will welcome in the Braves and the Nationals next week. My name's Dominic Cotroneo. Remember to follow the show at Locked On Brewers. Also, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We will see you next time. Until next time, keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.